My Legal Club provides full legal support when you require it. Enjoy savings and rewards all year round when you don't. You do not need to be a member of My Legal Club to benefit from free legal advice from our highly recommended specialist solicitors. When you or a loved one requires legal advice and a solicitor, we can help you in every area of law. We also offer a unique alternative. Sign up to our free trial and you will receive up to 25% off legal fees, 15% off legal documents, £20 restaurant vouchers for leading UK restaurants, savings and rewards with leading UK brands, a free online will, free dash cam and much, much more. As an example of how we help our members, they have saved on average over £500 plus by using My Legal Club for personal injury claims compared to many solicitors who deduct 25% of your compensation. If you or a loved one needs legal support, contact us at mylegalclub.co.uk for free consultations and no obligation quotes with highly recommended solicitors. Sign up to our free trial to receive all the free discounts and our membership benefits.
Welcome to the MLC show in association with My Legal Club. I am your host, Sean Rogers, and I am delighted to be joined on today's show by Lynn James. Lynn runs the blog Mrs. Mummypenny after quitting the corporate world to start her own business. Lynn's background is in commercial finance after qualifying as an accountant. The Mrs. Mummypenny website is a blog all about personal finance, healthy wealth, body and mind. We're recording this in the height of or what we hope is the height of the coronavirus situation. It's the 20th of March. We're pre-recording the show. I hope everyone is well. I myself am in self-isolation. Lynn very kindly has agreed to join us via Skype. So if there's not the usual quality of audio or video, that is my fault due to being ill. I hope everyone is staying well through these difficult times, and I hope this gives you some great content to listen to. Lynn, let's start at the beginning. What were your school days like, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, cool. Thanks for having me on the show. So my school days, right. So I've always been a big maths geek. I loved maths since the age of, I don't know, 8 or 9. And all my teachers identified I was really good at it. So I think when somebody tells you you're really good at something, you like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go for this. So So yeah, I always wanted to do something to do with maths. So it sort of carried on through school, and I went off to university to do a maths degree as well. And that sort of put me on a course for some kind of job linked to being mathematics. And of course, what did I end up being but an accountant? A nice, safe career, which... why did I go into being an accountant? So a really weird thing happened to me at university, and this is where I'm meandering off now. So I did a 4-year degree where I worked for a year of my degree, and that was really great because it earned me a little bit of money, and I got some really good experience working for Marks and Spencer's. So I was meant to go join Marks and Spencer's as a graduate to run one of their shops, or to help with running finance in one of their shops anyway. And this was 1999, giving away my age a little bit there, and M&S were in quite a lot of financial trouble then, so they got rid of all their graduates. And I was then like, so I did have a graduate job where I was going to go off work for Marks and Spencer's, and then I didn't. But all these companies just came to Marks and Spencer's and said, oh, we'll have your graduates if you don't want them. So I had the choice of about 15 companies to choose from, and I ended up choosing HSBC because, and I'll be very honest here, they offered the most money. And they offered me to do a CIMA qualification. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I went in to work for HSBC age 22 because they paid a good check and also gave me a good qualification.
So was it literally as simple as being good at maths? You know, like you said quite correctly, people, you probably knew you were good at maths. People are commenting on the fact that you're good at maths. Is it something that you think you kind of fell into, or is it something that you know, when you were 16, 17, 18, is that something you made a deliberate decision to kind of, for myself, I literally left my UCAS forms till the day before, hadn't done them. The girlfriend that I had at the time was like, "You better fill these in." I think I got a B in law, or was on for a B at law, an A level or something, and ended up. That's how random it was for me. Otherwise, who knows which direction I would have been going in. What about yourself?
So it was always very clear, I think, that I'd end up doing maths. But what did a big life event that happened to me, which sort of changed the course of my life hugely, was so my mum died when I was 16, and then my dad died like a couple of years later, or 3 years later, when I was 19, and that it didn't change my educational path. But what it did do was it really made me think, oh my gosh, I really need to get a really good, secure job, because I don't have any parents to support me anymore financially. So I jest about the going for the biggest salary job, but it was more of a necessity that from sort
Yeah.
of age 19 onwards, it was me, myself, and I've always had to do everything to look after myself.
What
So
what a tough period.
yeah.
I'm very fortunate. We nearly lost my mum when I was 16. I had to move out the house in the GCSE. So fortunate, it was very different. My mum had to live a very different life, and the world was never going to be the same for us after that. But fortunately, in our case, my mum survived a 24-hour last minute operation, basically. Um,
Wow.
Definitely one for another show. But I mean, I was probably I was certainly more fortunate than you. I mean, what a time period to have to go through.
Mm,
When you
mm.
look back at that now, is that kind of do you look back at that time and wonder how you did it, how you got through that spell? Was it do you sort of almost admire the 16 to 19-year-old self and go, wow, how did I actually get through that time period? Or do you look back at it and go, actually, I'm stronger now, kind of thing? I could go back if I had to do that again. I'd do it better now. Or do you look back and go, wow, I just couldn't go through that again?
Um, I look back at it and think, well, it sort of depends if you're a glass half empty, glass half full kind of person. I look back at it and think, obviously, it was the most awful thing in the world to happen, and also, uh, not that there's a worse age to lose your parents, but when you're a teenager and that's such an impressionable age where you can really like go off the rails or not. Something guided me to like stay on course, to
Yeah,
get my A levels. I had. I mean, I'm from Penzance in Cornwall, and I live in Hertfordshire now. But it's very different in Cornwall. Like people are really friendly and really look after you. It's different to the southeast, and I had a lot of teachers looking out for me. I had some really great friends, and my friends' parents like took me in and became like my surrogate parents. I also had a sister who was like 20 years older than me, who sort of became this strange role of sister slash mum slash friend. So
yeah,
I think it's that having that support network around you which got me through it. And I almost thought getting myself to university would get me out of that life of you know living at home from where my mum wasn't there anymore. So I was almost like desperate to go away to
yeah,
university. Um, and so yeah, I got through it. Just sometimes it was scraping through it. Like I did all right with my A levels, but my dad died at the end of my first year of university, and he died literally like 2 days before I was due to sit my final exams. So they said I didn't have to sit my exams, and I got a condoned pass. And I knew I would have failed those exams had they not condoned me. So I suppose my dad did me a bit of a favour for getting me through my first year of university. But yeah, I think I can look back and think it's made me an incredibly, incredibly strong, independent person. Like I don't rely on anyone apart from
yeah.
myself.
No,
It's
well, I mean, the courage and the drive that you've shown there, you've obviously, from researching your story myself, and I'm massively interested. I'm sure everyone listening to this will be too. Um, and I'm interested in, you became an accountant, didn't you, working in
yeah.
commercial finance? What was that like? Do you miss any aspects of that? If someone was to come to you now and say, I'm just about to go in and work commercial finance, I'm an accountant, what's it like? What would you say? And do you miss any aspects of it?
So I worked for like three main companies throughout. So I did the financy jobs for about 16 years. So I started at HSBC where I qualified, so I got some nice banking experience. Then I went to Tesco's for like 5 years. Incredible to work for a company like Tesco's, one of the biggest companies in the world. Certainly at the time when I worked for them, they were on a huge growth path. And working in commercial finance as well, you're at the front end of the business. Like you're there helping the business to make decisions about real commercial decisions that are making money for these companies. Tesco's were very hard to work for, though. They certainly took their pound of flesh. They paid you well, but you had to work very, very hard. And then I ended up sort of the last section of my career working for EE, so in mobile phones. So all very big companies, and it was something I've always struggled with in my sort of corporate career. Something which I don't have now that I'm self-employed is I got bored very easily in these sort of corporate jobs, and big companies like Tesco's and EE, they want you to stay in a job for like a couple of years, and after like I'd been doing it for 6 months, I'd be like, right, I've fixed everything now, like what next? I'm bored. And that created problems in itself because being bored in a job for me just meant that I wasn't that motivated in the job. So I moved around quite a few jobs. Like the companies generally were pretty good at pushing me around, every sort of 12 to 18 months. So did I enjoy? I'm really glad I'm not doing it anymore because I've got this conflict that I experienced for a lot of my life, where because of my background and because of what happened to my parents, I always wanted this sort of stable career that paid me really well. And then, all the trappings of life come with that. So then I almost got sort of caught in this life of, oh my God, I've got to earn like 60 grand a year to ensure that the mortgage is paid, and then I started having children, and then I got even more sort of trapped in it. So I almost stayed doing,
and the invoices really flow.
yeah and so I could look back and think it served its purpose for 16 years. Do I miss anything about it? I suppose I miss some of the people I worked with, not all of them, but all the lovely people I worked with, I'm still mates with. So yeah, I don't really miss anything about it.
Do you miss any of the certainty? Do you miss the certainty? Do you miss the when you're working for an organisation? I mean, I think people are maybe a bit misguided on this. I think when you're working for an organisation like Tesco or HSBC, you almost think that they're invincible. I mean, you look at someone like Lehman Brothers. Actually, I think the turnover of Lehman Brothers, if you to add it all up, is over $1 trillion, and they went under. So actually, no company is safe. But you almost think that those kind of organisations are going to go on forever. So I suppose you've got the certainty of your pay slip once you've been there a couple of years. You've got the certainty of your employment law rights and so forth. Do you miss any of that certainty?
I do. So I never used to worry about money. Because I knew that we say it's a guaranteed paycheck. It is pretty much a guaranteed paycheck, isn't it? Or a bonus was coming in every 6 months or whatever to pay off that credit card balance that I'd built up in the meantime. So yeah, I really do miss that certainty. And I've been self-employed now for 5 years, and I stress about money every day. Literally every day, it's on my mind. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I miss.
What was the moment or like breakthrough? You've got this. Look at the achievement you've made. You've had a background, a time period, 16 to 20, where if you wanted to go off the rails, you've got every excuse going. You've actually gone through university, achieved loads of stuff career-wise. You're working for enormous multinationals. When's the moment or breakthrough when you go, no, enough, I'm going to set up my own business, and I'm going to eventually, I know you didn't leave straight away, but I'm going to eventually leave my job to focus on Mrs. Mummypenny full time?
Yeah, so I've got 3 boys. They are 12, 10 and 7 now. But when I was on maternity leave with my 3rd child, Jack, so what were we talking, 7 years ago? Yeah, after he'd been born. by the time you have your third child, you sort of know what you're doing. So I had I had this like really long
And by
period
the
of maternity.
third.
Yeah, I got really bored on my maternity leave. So and one of the roles I'd been doing, yeah, no, the role I was doing before my maternity leave, sorry, was I was like the sort of marketing, sort of commercial business partner. So when marketing wanted to come along and say, oh, we want to spend £100,000 paying a YouTuber to produce a video, I'd be on the other side saying, ah, hang on, let's work out the return on income of this, and sort of signing off the budget. And that is a specific scenario, something which I worked with, and that also, you got that light bulb of what? You're paying a YouTuber £100,000 to produce
Jamie, if you want to go
a
to any of your
video.
contacts, and if you want to go to your contacts, I can send you my bank details. You know, £100,000. You know, get me out of bed. You know, I can do the odd show for that.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But
Not a
yeah,
bad
so
affiliate partnership to have.
yeah, but the job I was doing, it just brought this world to me of the possibility of affiliate relationships and sponsored work, and just because 7 years ago, the sort of world of, blogs and Instagram and all that, it wasn't really that big. People weren't making that much money out of it, apart from those two Instagram boys that we paid 100 grand to. But so yeah, that sort of sparked an idea. And then when I was off on maternity leave, I was literally like, I'm bored, let's just set up a website, because I'd spent my entire adult life being quite obsessed with money. I'd always been the person people would come to get advice on how to save money, deals, household bills, how to save on that. I had loads of people that I helped out who had debt that just needed, like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. And I would sort of, help them go through it and come up with a plan on how to pay it off. So literally it was just one day, I'm going to set up a website and I'm going to put this content out there. So I came up with the first thing I did was come up with the name with one of my friends who's an absolute marketing guru, who's still one of my best friends now. We sat with a bottle of wine, came up with the name Mrs. Mummypenny. Literally the next day I bought the domain name, got the Facebook account and the Twitter, and I just sort of went for it when I was on maternity leave. But it was just a hobby. Like I didn't really have much of a. I suppose I always knew that there was nobody else really doing it. So I knew that it could have legs one day. It could be something I could turn into a business. But it didn't earn me any money, so I had to go back to work.
Okay, and then how did you actually start the business and grow the business? So when do you actually go, right, I'm actually leaving work now? What, you actually handed your notice in. How did you actually start that, and then how did you grow it?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting story of politics in an organisation. So I went back to EE, and I went back to the same job, but I had a different boss, and I just didn't really want to be there anymore. So I got a different job at EE, and the job I was doing was so EE has a big franchise element. A lot of their stores are owned by franchisees. So I was like the sort of commercial business person, supporting the relationship with the franchisees. So I'd be the one that say, right, if you've sold an iPhone, we will pay you 500 quid or whatever for selling that iPhone. And it was the most difficult job in the world. Oh my gosh, because franchisees are they're amazing people. They're so clever, and they really knew how to negotiate really well. And I was the person saying to them, oh, you can be paid X or Y. So I was in a really difficult position with these franchisees. Right. So it was a really stressful job. And I had a boss who was a female, but she was a female boss that she didn't have a family. She wanted to be like in the man's world of telco, and I remember sitting in a meeting once with her where I was really stressed out about this job. I was having to commute into London in 4 days out of 5, like 3 young kids at home, and I was crying. I was really upset. Like I just don't think I can do this job with my family. And she just looked at me and said, well, face facts, Lynn, you just need to make a decision. You choose your career or you choose your family.
Wow.
Literally. So I was a bit like, oh, okay. And in sort of shock of, right, if somebody's going to force me into this decision, I ended up negotiating redundancy
Sure.
out of EE,
Yeah.
and use that as a sort of example of somebody's going to force me into making that decision. I'm choosing my family, but I'm not going without you giving me some money to go. And it took me a very long time to negotiate it, but I eventually got it in 2015. So and I'd worked for them for 5 years. I was on a fairly high salary with them, so it gave me like quite a nice chunk of money to be the absolute gift to start my business. So I think and all these, as readers will know if they look at my website, I'm not shy about talking about numbers. And
No.
so I walked away with about £40,000. Not one thought went into, oh, I should put that into the mortgage.
Yeah.
It was literally, right, this is my opportunity. This is
Yeah.
how Mrs. Mummypenny's going to launch. And
Yeah,
it didn't cost.
her bad. Your boss's bad attitude. Your boss's. Your boss could do with spending some time with me and my colleagues, I suspect. But integration, if you like, I don't believe in work-life balance anymore, because it's a seesaw, which and it shouldn't really be a seesaw, because actually it's a priority. I used to think your family come first, and I think that's wrong. You come first, because actually, if you're not
You're right.
in like top state, if you're not at your, then they're not going to get the best of you. You then know they're not getting the best, and that then causes its own issues. And then how do you then go into your career and be the best that you can be at that either? So I think it's more of an integration for me. But what a gift in that her attitude. And then you, obviously, accountant, sounds like you're a bloody good lawyer, to be fair, negotiating your redundancy. What a gift and opportunity, and what bravery you showed to, like you say, you didn't just live off it for a bit or put it into a savings account. You decided to go and would it be fair to say follow your dream, or certainly follow the dream at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Because something that always really frustrated me about my corporate career was I've always had this thing about wanting to make a difference to people's lives. And I never really knew how to do it. So, when I was working for Tesco's, all I was doing was making more money for the shareholders, basically. I wasn't really helping people. So I'd sort of throw myself into all these projects of like mentoring people and, looking after the apprentices or the graduates to try and, build up this making a difference to people thing. And I just never got the satisfaction from it. So what my business does now is it literally, the messages I get on a daily basis from people just saying, reading your story has literally made me take my head out of the sand. I've added up all my debts. I've read some more of your content. I've got a bit of a plan of how I'm going to pay it off. I am literally making a difference to people's lives every day. It's just the most like incredible feeling that the corporate world never did. So yeah, no, absolutely, it was a gift from that woman, who shall remain nameless for fear of being sued. But she gave me the gift. I almost want to send her a message just to say thanks for your attitude. But yeah, so
Put
I
your
got that.
customers first. That's it. If you can
Yeah.
put your customers, your clients first, then the value and everything else will flow from that. I'm really interested when you're going through that spell. Something I've had multiple times in the last decade, that sometimes I've dealt with it a lot better than others. How did you overcome the sort of negative self-talk and limiting beliefs? Because there must have been, there has to have been some level of fear.
Yeah.
I don't, from what I know about you, from talking to you, I don't imagine you're the type to bury your head in the sand and just ignore the fear necessarily. So, as you say, you've left a high-paid job with great job security. You've got kids. You've got the mortgage. You've probably got used to a certain standard of living, I imagine.
Yeah.
From your background as well.
Yeah.
Having lost your parents, there's got to be an element of wanting to live for the day, I imagine. Certainly, I
Very
would
well
probably,
read. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sort of feel like that. But the fear, and you're on your own all of a sudden. You haven't got all the shareholders, you haven't got the CEO, you haven't got the direction, you haven't got the team around you. How did you overcome sort of what I call negative self-talk, limiting beliefs?
Yeah, so in the early days, so go back to 2015. So I like made this decision, and I had, I'm gonna say like a handful, like 5 people, who were just like, this is the best decision you could ever make, Lynn, and we are going to do everything we can to support you. So one of them was my marketing expert friend who helped me come up with the name. I had another one who's a real like digital IT whiz who's good at search engine optimization and all those kind of technical things. I had another guy who was my boss a few years before, who was just a good, life strategy planner, can like rip your business apart and tell you just a great strategy. He's now like a global director of a huge like Russian company, and he still helps me now. And then a couple of my franchisees as well, who these like millionaire franchisee guys, they said to me, you ever need any help, we'll meet up for a coffee and we'll just give you an hour of our time to help you. So it's like, I just felt this like this feeling of just support around me. Of it's almost like if I had any question of what to do with my business, I just had the right people surrounding me, guiding me, all for free as well. It's just people wanting me to be successful. So I have to credit those
That
people for
must be
helping me.
that must have been like, I mean, that's amazing to say. I mean, that must be a return on the love and support you've given everybody else, you know.
Yeah.
Most people would just, without making you blush, I don't think most people would just gift that to someone unless they've been, receiving that and getting that level of rapport. And also, what a great lesson in terms of resourcefulness. Like think how many people that you may know, even loosely through work, who actually, I don't know whether ask would be the right word, but certainly they might be willing to provide such unbelievable guidance, and like you said, for free.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. And see, what you said about living for the moment as well, there is a huge part of me which is like, oh my gosh, I've just been given £40,000. What can I blow that money on? And I did blow quite a lot of the money. I think we took the kids away. So I should refer to, I was married. I'm now divorced, or I will be in a couple of weeks' time anyway. Um, and we took the boys away to Spain and spent like 5 grand on that. We also went to Las Vegas with some friends and spent another 5 grand on that. I went straight to Prada and bought a handbag. So I did claim quite a chunk of the money. But then the rest of the money, once these 5 angels had like got their hooks into me and were like, you really need to calm down and conserve some money,
Yeah.
then you start to sort of listen. But yeah, there's a huge tendency from me to think, when I've got a load of money, to live for the moment, because yeah, you never know what will happen. So I'm constantly trying to balance providing money for the future as well as having a great time now. But yeah, so then I was left with a chunk of money, which so my business didn't cost very much to set up because it's an online business, and I set it up as cheaply as possible because I had all these people helping me. So literally, I just had to get my business earning money, not as quickly as possible, because I think you have to be careful with online businesses that you don't make them earn money too early, because you might say yes to the wrong type of jobs. You've always got to be thinking about the future. And yeah, that money paid the mortgage and the bills whilst I was building up the business to a point where it was earning enough on a monthly basis. And I had a sort of a time limit of about 18 months, which I gave myself, that I knew the money would last for. The money did run out, and I had to use credit cards for a little bit, because I knew, like, you have that tipping point and where you get to that sort of self-doubt bit as well. About 18 months in, I was literally like, I've run out of money. My business isn't earning enough money on a monthly basis. What on earth do I do? And I remember meeting with a different friend who's a hypnotherapist, and she'd been with me for the whole journey, and she sort of said to me, you're on the cusp of something really big happening. you can't give up on your dream now, or you can't split yourself two ways. Like, I could have gone out and got a job, but then I would have lost the focus on, Mrs. Mummypenny that I'd been building up for 18 months. So she literally said to me, just make a decision, one thing or the other. Give up completely on Mrs. Mummypenny and go for the job, or just go full steam into Mrs. Mummypenny. And that was almost like the fire I needed, which made the business work. And literally within a couple of months, it was earning enough on a monthly basis. So yeah, it's amazing.
Brilliant. So we're going through a period of great uncertainty at the moment due to the coronavirus. Understandably, people are fearing for their jobs. There's so many families losing income right now, whether that be on SSP, particularly the self-employed, 0 hours contracts. There's loads of families now being split because one half of the family might be key workers, the other half of the family might be having to take time off work to look after the kids if the kids can't go into the school. And we've got the uncertainty as to how long this may or may not last. What would your advice be to families now in terms of managing that monthly money and budget and looking ahead to the next 2-3 months?
Yeah, you literally have to go into like lockdown mode with your money. So I wrote a blog post about this last week that I put out, which is literally, there's certain sections of your financial life that you need to look at right now. And that is from things like all the discretionary spend on little things that you don't need. It just has to stop. Buying clothes, buying coffees, and I know a lot of that stuff is going to have to stop because it's quite difficult to go to restaurants and pubs and stuff now. But yeah, anything, the Amazon purchases, it has to stop because you have to start conserving cash, and build up. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have an emergency fund. It's around 25% of the population don't have any like emergency money set aside whatsoever. If you have, great, then you're hopefully going to ride through this. I mean, we don't know how long it's going to go on for, but so yeah, conserve cash. And there's lots of little things you can do to create some money as well. Like I checked my energy accounts on Monday, and I had like £100 credit in it, so I got that switched out into my bank account. I use cashback accounts quite a bit for any sort of online purchase. I had some money sat in there, which I made sure I switched out. And it's like grabbing all of that cash that you possibly can and moving it into your own bank account. I've got like a coin jar sat downstairs, probably with 50 quid in it. Count it up and like take it to the bank whilst we still can. So all those sort of little things to make money, and also you can make a really big difference to your monthly bills by checking you're on the best deal for everything. And that's not necessarily going to make you any money, but it's going to save you a lot of money. Like if you haven't switched your energy for more than a year, then you will probably be able to get a better deal on your energy. Energy's at its lowest cost at the moment for a long time, so that could generate an extra £50 a month. Your broadband, your mobile phones, all of these things can be switched to a better deal if you haven't looked at them for a while. If you're anything like me though, which I switch mine every year like on the dot, it's quite hard for me to save money on my bills, but a lot of people can. So that's going to save money now and sort of going forward. So it's a real, like, we've got this extra time at home, so it's almost like the perfect time to just sit down for an hour and just have a good look through your regular monthly bills and seeing where you can save some money. Because yeah, everything, it's just the uncertainty, isn't it? And as soon as there's any uncertainty, you just need to conserve as much cash as possible. Like I've stopped all of my savings. Literally every extra I used to have all these different pots where my money would go into, like ISA, pension, holiday fund. I had a fund spending fund, and all my money now, there's a bills fund that has to come to a certain amount each month. Everything else just goes off into the emergency fund. So yeah.
Totally. Well, I think it's hard because some people might look and go, well, what's the point of me cancelling that subscription? Because that subscription is, I like it, but I don't. It's 12 quid. But I suppose your point is that the 12 quid's here, the £2 a day that you spend here, before you know it, if you add it all up and sort of cull it,
Yeah.
as an example, not only can it add up to a lot that month, but if then you look at over a 3 to 4 month period, you know,
It
could be the
could be
equivalent to your rent.
hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I just every time I think of just the people that have lost their jobs that are now having to rely on like SSP at like £93 a week, or it's just I just don't know how people are gonna cope. Another thing I'm doing, which is it almost goes against some of the stuff I've written about in the past. So I had a lot of debt. So when I mentioned that, so I had that redundancy money, but there was a period of time, a couple of months or 3 or 4 months, when my business wasn't earning enough. So I ended up relying on credit cards. And I built up like a £16,000 credit card debt in 2017 and paid it all off by 2019. And I said I would never get back into debt again. But what I'm actually doing now, because I'm very conscious that I need to have this liquid fund, is I've got a 0% purchases credit card that I'm just using to buy, you know, like groceries and petrol. And I don't really need petrol because I'm not really driving anywhere at the moment, but certainly food, just so I know that I've got that little bit building up on a. It's not costing me anything because it's all 0% purchases, but it just means that I'm keeping the cash in my bank account because the mortgage, it has to be paid. Putting food on a credit card for a few months, that's at least sort of, so it's this like, it's a juggling of cash flow for the next few months, because no matter whether you're a business or a person, cash is king. You have to manage your liquidity. And I think talking to a few of the clients I work with, it's going to become more difficult to like borrow money going forward as people's financial situations change. So it's almost like if you can get a 0% credit card now, make sure you get it.
I was on that subject. I was reading, and I think the report goes back to December. Debts excluding mortgages are on the rise in the UK. You know, credit cards, personal loans. I think it hit 119 billion from March 18 onwards, and the average household financial debt is just under £10,000. Now, it's not the actual debt and the money that I'm interested in asking you about, really. What's your advice to people from a mentality point of view? Because that can put a lot of anxiety and depression on people. I know a lot of people that even if they're servicing loans, they're so upset in a way that they've got it, they wish they didn't have it, they almost feel like it's something hanging over them, almost like the Grim Reaper, if you like. There's a lot of people who just don't know if they're ever going to get out of it, especially now. They're now panicking on what's going to happen. What's your advice to people in terms of that? You know, you said yourself at the start, I think about money every day. I suspect 99% of the time will be looking at that in a healthy way. So what's your advice to people who it may be going the other way and it's causing anxiety and depression?
So there was a point in my life where I was struggling really hard mental health wise with the amount of debt I had. So so when I finally took my head out of the sand and realised I had this £16,000 worth of debt, it was April. I remember it was just after my 40th birthday, and I'd just come back from Las Vegas and like claimed a load of money on a holiday to Las Vegas, and then I'm like, oh, why have I done this? Because now I've got like £16,000 worth of debt to pay back. I had a conversation with a friend who she's another money writer, and she's completely non-judgmental. She just sort of helped me to rationalize that debt needed to be paid back, because I'll be honest with you, most of my life I've just had debt after debt after debt, and I've just moved one 0% card to another. I've just had debt. I've never even thought that it needed to be paid back. Bad education as a teenager there, but she just sort of helped me realize that no, that money wasn't mine. It sounds really ridiculous to say it like that. I was having this conversation as a 40-year-old, and also I'm a personal finance writer as well. But but it's the mind. It's the mind shift you need to make to pay debt back. So we as I've already said about the rationalization process of your bills, went through all of that. That freed up a load of money, and just came up with a bit of a plan to pay off the money. But then summer holidays hit like a couple of months later, and like the mum guilt hit me, and I was like, oh, I need to take my children on holiday, and I just couldn't cope with the fact that, because when in the April, I'd made this decision to pay back this debt and to switch my life into an incredibly frugal life, and then summer hit me, and I just lost the plot, and we went on holiday and we spent a load of money, and then I'd paid off some debt, and then it went backwards, and that was the real point of a mental health low of, I don't think I can pay this back. It feels like too much money. It wasn't stacking up loads of interest because most of it was on 0% for a period of time. But I just remember thinking, I can't pay it back, or if I'm paying it back at like £100 or £200 a month, it's going to take me like 6 years to pay it back, and it took me to a very low place. But I think when that happens, that's when you need to like reach out to a person or people that can help you get through it, because I think fundamentally you've just got to come up with a plan, and if that plan is £200 a month to pay off a 16 grand debt, then that is your plan, and you just keep doing that £200 each month. If you get a little bit extra through, I don't know, selling a load of stuff on eBay, or adding up all the coins in the coin jar, make sure that extra bit of money you've earned goes into that debt, and track your progress. Celebrate every time you celebrate when you get to like 15,000, nice round number. Celebrate when you get to 4 figures rather than 5 figures. Something that really, really helped me was Instagram, because there's this huge community on Instagram that are all like on their debt-free journeys. They're not debt-free, they're just on the journey to getting debt-free. And the amount of support you get from people, just putting a message out saying, oh, I've managed to get my debt below 10,000, it really like motivates you on, because I think you've got to follow that plan and try to get yourself out of that dark place, because how my mind works, when I end up in a dark place, I just go and spend money, and then you're just going backwards, because you've got the whole emotional spending linked into it as well. So
totally, I think whether it's finances or whatever area of your life it is, I think if you can get the right people together and get the right plan, because if you want to walk east looking for a sunset, you can work as hard as you want, you ain't seeing one. But as long as you know you've got the right plan, the minute, like you've just said, the first couple of steps that you make, you don't have to achieve the full goal. You don't have to pay all the debts off, because the minute you start chipping away at it, you've got the positivity, you've got the kind of progress, if you like. So I completely agree. If you can get the right people around you to put the right plan together, and then you have real positive motivation to stick to that, and that's probably the key thing. And you understand that it's not going to be linear. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's losing weight, finances, whatever. There's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be the odd knockback. As long as I'm on this path, I'm not coming off this road. Might have to zigzag a bit, but I'm not actually going to come off it. Then all of a sudden your mental health can change on whether it be finances or anything else. I also wanted to pick your brains on a recent poll by Santander. They were saying that 81% of 11 to 18-year-olds are unable to name a single female entrepreneur. Over 6 in 10 of girls aged 11 to 18 have never thought about starting their own business, and the reason cited was they don't know anything about how to begin. Why is this, and what can be done to change that perception?
Oh, that's a good question, and that's a really shocking result from a poll. I think we're getting better as a media community at supporting women, and certainly this is probably a bit of a token thing there as well. I think whenever I'm doing, say, a panel talk on money, there will now be a good split of women and men. I think the finance world in particular, sort of entrepreneurial wise, realised that there wasn't enough women in the industry, and the impact of that was it was meaning that not enough women out there were like investing money and sorting out their pensions and stuff. So you need to get women talking about it to get women actually taking action. But yeah, I just think we need more positive role models out there that are prepared to share their honest story and vulnerability. Let's talk about vulnerability. I think it's really, really important to share with everybody like your honesty of where things have gone wrong and where things have gone right, and just prove to people that, like, as you said earlier, life does go wrong sometimes. You get these huge barriers that come along that could completely floor you, but or you can just use them to make you stronger. And I think the more and more people like me can talk about these things and inspire people, because I really do think, and I try to install this in my children, who I know are boys. It's such a shame I haven't got a daughter, but they can do anything. And if you're incredibly passionate about something, then absolutely you start a business doing it, because if you're passionate about something, that's going to like get you through. That's going to be a successful business, and that's for surrounding yourself with the right people that can help with the other stuff that you can't do. But yeah, we need more positive role models.
Here. I'm all for that. I want to thank you so much. You've been absolutely amazing company. That's it for this week, everyone. Thank you to Lynn for being such a fantastic guest. You can hear more from Lynn, and I would recommend it so highly. It's unbelievable. It's www.mrsmummypenny.co.uk. Please check it out. It is absolutely brilliant. Some great content on there. In the meantime, please share and spread the word about the MLC show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please hit us with a 5-star review. And remember to check out the products and services at mylegalclub.co.uk. Stay well, everyone, and please take care.
The Business Services Club is a unique business-to-business brokerage. When you need a service for your business, or you want to compare your existing business, get in touch for free and no obligation quotes. We have created a specialist panel of commercial partners to support your every business need. We will provide you with free and no obligation quotes via the free to access Business Services Club. As an example, you may need EL, PL or professional indemnity insurance quotes, forensic accountants, self-employed bookkeeping, funding, working capital, interest-only lending with no personal guarantees, employment and HR support, web development, training, legal advice, or even online marketing. No matter what you and your business require, we will meet your needs. Free up precious time researching and analysing new or existing outsourced partners via our one-stop business solution. See how we can help you and your business via businessservicesclub.co.uk.